transferred to Manchester United today.
Football predictions.
If Barbarian 0, Ipswich Town 1.
Football predictions.
Hi, it's Peter Guest, and I'm here with the Moose, and we're here for another episode of the footballpredictions.net podcast covering Italy Serie A games for the 4th to the 6th of October 2024. What have we got, Moose?
We have got top of the league Napoli at home to Cesc Fabregas in-form Como team. Then we got Verona at home to Venezia. We got Udinese at home to Lecce. Atalanta takes on Genoa. Torino visits Inter Milan. Juve takes on Cagliari. Bologna takes on Parma. Empoli travels to Lazio. Monza takes on Roma. And finally, Fiorentina takes on AC Milan.
You can check out all the details for these matches that we're going to discuss in this podcast on our website, footballpredictions.net, along with fixtures from just about every other football competition that you can shake a stick at.
Yes, and on our website, it will show you where to watch the games on local broadcast channels, plus video streaming services, as well as team news and match odds from local bookmakers.
Look in the description of our podcast, this episode, for direct clickable links to all of the matches that we're about to discuss. Geolocation and live streaming rules apply, 18 plus, gamble aware. So let's get going with Napoli, number 1, taking on Como, 10th on the table. Kicks off on Friday, 4th of October, 5:30 UK time, that is. Go to footballpredictions.net for your local kickoff time, plus all the betting odds, broadcasts, streaming services and options available in your area, one of which, of course, is Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them and want to join and want to watch this game. There's a couple of teams, like you said, bang in form.
Yes, Como has really, let's say, got into the stride of the Serie A with 2 wins in a row. Last week, they beat Hellas Verona 3-2 at home, and we said they were going to win that one 2-1. So, we had the outcome. We had over 2.5, and both teams to score correct in that game. It has to be said that prior to that, apart from Atalanta, we called the home draw against Bologna. We said 1-1, it ended 2-2, but it was a score draw. We also said that Como was going to lose 1-0 at Udinese, and he lost 1-0 at Udinese. In terms of Napoli, even better. The last game out, they played Monza at home, and they beat Monza 2-0. And what did we say? We said Napoli were going to beat Monza 2-0. So yeah, we had 2-0 in that game, so a correct score. We also said Napoli were going to win the home game in the Coppa d'Italia against Palermo, and they beat Palermo quite convincingly 5-0. Napoli also traveled to Juve for a 0-0 draw. Prior to that, they had a 4-0 win at Cagliari. We said they were going to win that game 2-0. So yeah, we've had some really solid predictions on Napoli. The 2 first home games of the seasons against Bologna and Parma we called as well. We said Napoli were going to win both those games, and so they did. So yeah, Napoli sits top after 6 games, 13 points. They have now, including the Coppa d'Italia, 4 clean sheets in a row, and they're playing promoted Como side here, who might be up against it.
Yeah, Napoli are looking a bit too good at the moment for Como. We don't think Como will be able to get anything from this game. Being at Napoli at the Maradona Stadium, it's going to be very daunting for them, we think. And we actually think they're going to win quite easily here. We've gone for a 3-0 win to Napoli. And odds of that you can get at the moment are 10 or 9-1 in fractional. So that's the way we see it. Napoli to win, the normal odds you can get just on a win, on a full-time result prediction, is 1.44. If you like that, it's probably your safest bet. But yeah, we think, because we predict a few goals in this game, that we're going to go for an over 2.5 goals tip. And you can get that at the moment, the odds of that are 1.73. Just out of interest, we've got a poll that runs on each of our web pages. So for each game, on this one, 75% of you think that it'll be a Napoli win. And a few people like a draw, but actually at the moment, no one's gone for a Como win at all. So yeah, it could be tricky for Como. Let's see how they go. But that's where we're going to draw our line in the sand. Hellas Verona next, who are 14th, take on Venezia, who are 19th in the table. Kicks off on Friday, 4th of October, 7:45 in UK time. You can find your localized kickoff time, odds, TV channels and streaming services on our site, footballpredictions.net. Just check the link in the description of this podcast and you'll be able to quickly get to that. And of course, you can live stream this one on Bet365. Do use our bonus code FP365 if you are new to them. A couple of teams who've been not doing too well lately.
No, they really haven't. I mean, Hellas Verona's lost their last 3 matches in a row now in the Serie A. And Venezia sits a second from bottom. They just won 1 game since they came back to the Serie A. They just got 4 points and scored only 4 goals. So yeah, not a great start to the season for Venezia. But yeah, Hellas Verona, we actually just covered them because Como beat them last week. Como, the promoted team. We did say that Como were going to win that one 2-1 and they won 3-2. For Hellas Verona, obviously lost that one 3-2. And prior to that, Verona had a defeat at home to Torino and another away defeat at Lazio. In terms of home games this season, probably covering also Napoli was they had a surprise right at the beginning of the season, which was a 3-0 win, but then they also lost 3-0 at home to Juve. So yeah, a bit mixed when we talk Verona, but I think overall, if we look at their form right now, it's not good. Concede quite a lot of goals as well. Obviously, since like over the last 3 matches, they've conceded 8 goals. But yeah, Venezia not much better. Last week at Roma, we predicted a really tricky test for them. We said 2-0 Roma, and Roma beat them 2-1. The only win of the season came in the last home match, which was at Genoa. They won 2-0. However, this is an away game for Venezia, and they've not picked up more than a point away from home. That was at Fiorentina, sandwiched in between the Roma game. They had an away defeat of 4-0 at AC Milan. We predicted 3-0 in that game, but yeah, ended 4-0. So again, no both teams scored over 2.5, but the outcome was correct. But yeah, overall, Venezia away from home, not looking great. And Hellas Verona here, this is one of the matches that they have to win.
Yeah, we think this is more of a case of who's worse, Hellas Verona or Venezia.
Yeah.
And we think it's Venezia, don't we? Hellas Verona are at home as well, so that kind of goes in their favour. We think both of these will probably concede, so we have gone for both teams to score. The odds of that are 1.91 for this game. But I think Hellas Verona to win is probably a good option as well. Odds there of 2.1, so they are favourites as well to win the game with the bookies. And if you like a correct score prediction, which we do, because we like to be quite proud of our record on them, correct score 2-1 is what we've gone for. And odds of that you can get at 9. That's on Bet365 at the minute, or 8-1. And yeah, that will be interesting to see if that comes true. But on our poll on our webpage for this, 60% of people also think Hellas Verona will get the win, and only 13% Venezia, where the 26%, quite a lot more people think that it'll be a draw than a Venezia win. But yeah, Hellas Verona seem to us to be the clear choice if you want to go just for a win. Udinese next, who are 8th, take on Lecce, who are 18th. Kicks off on Saturday, 5th of October, 2 p.m. UK time. For this game, footballpredictions.net provides your local kickoff time, betting odds, and available viewing options. You can stream it live on Bet365. Won't cost you anything if you sign up there. Use that bonus code FP365. And these Udinese have been going along well, and then they've had a bit of a hiccup, haven't they?
Yes, and it's not that we didn't predict that, but yes, like you said, Udinese actually had a good start to the season. They started with a draw at Bologna and then 3 wins in a row. However, the last 2 games they bumped into Roma away from home, a game that we predicted Roma to win 3-1. It ended 3-0. It ended 3-0 to Roma. And then last game in the Serie A, Udinese played at home to Inter Milan. It was always going to be a tricky game for Udinese, this one. We said Inter Milan was going to win 3-1. They won 3-2. Again, we had the outcome both teams to score an over 2.5 goals correctly. In between the Roma and the Inter Milan game, Udinese did have a 3-1 win against Salernitana in the Coppa d'Italia. We did say that Udinese were going to win that game and go through to the next round. So, yeah, but overall, two tricky games there for Udinese, who'd be looking to get back on track against a Lecce side who played AC Milan last week away from home. We said AC Milan were going to beat Lecce 3-0, and guess what? It ended 3-0 to AC Milan. So we had that correct score bang on, and hopefully we'll have another correct score bang on for this one.
Yeah, let's hope so. So, in this game, we've gone for both teams to score prediction, and you can get odds of that at 1.8. That's our tip. But we think in terms of who will win, it'll be Udinese, and odds on that you can get at the moment of 2.15. Yeah, Lecce haven't been beaten by Udinese in away games against them for the last 3 games in the league, which is an interesting stat. But in terms of this one, Udinese to win, and correct score prediction 2-1. Odds of that you can get at the moment of 9 or 8-1. And in our poll, 64% of you believe Udinese also will win. Only 14% Lecce, with 21% looking at a draw. So that's what you think, and that's also what we think. So it's hopefully going to come true. And let's move on now to the next one. Atalanta, who are 12th, who take on Genoa, 17th in the table. Kicks off on Saturday, 5th of October, 5 p.m. UK time, and you can find your local kickoff time, game odds, and available broadcasting and streaming channels for this match on our webpage. Look in the links on footballpredictions.net. You can live stream it on Bet365, and use our bonus code FP365 if you're going to do that. I think Genoa really needs something out of this game, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. They've just got 1 win all season so far. 6 games in the Serie A and just 1 win. Also only scored 4 goals across 6 games. The only win came away to Monza, but that was already in just match week 2. So the last 4 matches in the Serie A, no wins for Genoa. Last time out, they had a tricky one because they played Juventus at home, and we all know Juventus, they've not conceded a single goal yet. We also said that Juve weren't going to concede against Genoa, or rather that Genoa wasn't going to score against Juve, and they didn't. They lost 3-0. But yeah, last home game was in the Coppa d'Italia. It was a 1-1 draw against Sampdoria after 90 minutes, and prior to that, Genoa did pick up a point against Roma at home, which was ended a 1-1 draw. Atalanta, on the other hand, they have had a mixed start in the Serie A, but probably a much better start in the Champions League. So just getting used to Champions League football. They had a draw against Arsenal before beating Shakhtar Donetsk this midweek. We did say that they were going to beat Shakhtar. We said 1-0. They beat them 3-0. So that was quite a convincing win for Atalanta. But prior to that, 2 quite disappointing results in the Serie A. That 3-2 home defeat to Como, followed up by a 1-1 draw against Bologna. So I think we're looking at an Atalanta team here who really is looking to sort of turn their form around in the domestic league.
Yeah, absolutely. Atalanta, we know they're a good team, and we think they're going to get on the winning track again. Atalanta to win. Odds of that you can get 1.48. We also think that this might be another both teams to score game, and you can get really good odds on that of 1.95. So yeah, keep your eyes on that one. And in terms of a correct score, yeah, we think it'll be fairly convincing, even though both teams will score. So we've gone for the 3-1 home win. And you can get odds on that of 12. So that's 11-1 in fractional. In our poll, 63% of you voting people think Atalanta will win. Only 13% have gone for Genoa, with 25-ish odd percent going for a draw. And importantly, everyone thinks a score draw as well. So that would be at least a 1-1, of course. So yeah, with both teams to score, seems like it might be a good one there. And let's move on to the next one, which is Inter Milan, 4th in the table. This would be a good game. Taking on Torino, 5th in the table. Kicks off on Saturday, 5th of October, 7:45 in the evening, UK time that is. And on our page, check the links in the description on footballpredictions.net. You can find your localized kickoff time, odds, TV channels, all the voting, and of course the live streaming services, one of which is Bet365. You can live stream it from them. It won't cost you anything. Just have deposited something in your account or have placed a bet in the last 24 hours and you can watch it for free, subscription free. And use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. Inter Milan have been getting back on track after losing that derby at San Siro.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be tight in the derby, right? We said both teams to score on over 2.5 goals. AC Milan won that game 2-1, but that would have been a disappointment for Inter. That's also, though, so far the only defeat of the season, and they bounced back quite nicely. We said they were going to bounce back when they played Udinese last week. We predicted 3-1, and they beat Udinese 3-2. So again, we had outcome over 2.5 goals from both teams to score correct in that game. And it also has to be said that midweek at home to Red Star Belgrade, we said that Inter Milan were going to beat them 3-0, and it ended 4-0. So no both teams to score over 2.5, but Inter Milan to win. So 7 goals in the last 2 matches, including the Champions League. That's a strong bounce back from that AC Milan defeat. Overall, Inter has had a pretty decent start to the Serie A, with they're sitting 4th on 11 points, just 2 points off Napoli at the top. So they're looking pretty good. They look to be back. In terms of Torino, now they had a very good start to the season, and many of our listeners will remember that they were actually top a few match weeks ago. However, that Coppa d'Italia defeat to Empoli seemed to have shaken them up a little bit, because then they had Lazio last week in a game where we did say both teams to score. They lost 3-2 in that game. That was their first defeat of the season in the Serie A. Prior to that, they had 3 wins and 2 draws, and now sitting 5th. So to then go to Inter Milan and try and turn things around, that's a big ask for Torino.
It is indeed, and you can imagine it's we're thinking that way in our prediction. So we have gone for an Inter Milan to win. The odds, you can only get 1.33 on that, but what we do like is much higher odds for both teams to score prediction, which we've got for this one as well, 2.05 if you're interested in that. But we can't see Torino coming away with anything, even though they're undefeated in their last 3 away league matches. They haven't actually beaten Inter Milan away from home in the last 8 league games. So it's going to be an uphill task for them, we think. In fact, odds for them to win are out at 9.5 for Torino to get the away win. Correct score prediction we've gone here is 3-1. Odds of that 11 or 10-1. And in our poll on our webpage for this, you can visit that and have your say. 77% currently of people are saying Inter Milan. It updates with every vote. Torino 19%. So you've got quite a few, and only 3% thinking about that it might be a draw. Anyway, next up we've got another huge team, Juventus. Currently in 2nd, we take on Cagliari, who are 16th. Kicks off on Sunday, the 6th of October, 11:30 a.m. in the UK. For this game, footballpredictions.net's page for this provides your local kickoff time, betting odds, and all the available viewing options, one of which, of course, is Bet365. They're streaming all of these Serie A matches, and you can join them if you're not with them. Use our bonus code FP365. Juventus doing pretty well at the moment.
They're doing really well, especially in the Serie A as well. I know they have 3 draws, but they've not conceded a single goal yet. Last week, they went to Genoa in a game where we said they were going to beat Genoa 2-0, and they beat them 3-0. So 1-0, but they beat them 3-0. They had a 0-0 draw against Napoli prior to that in a game where we said under 2.5 goals, and it ended under 2.5 goals. We also said under 2.5 goals when they played Empoli prior to that in the Serie A. In the Champions League, they played midweek against Leipzig, where we had both teams to score at the main tip. It ended 3-2 to Juve. And that made it 2 wins and 2 for Juve in the Champions League, because their first Champions League game was a 3-1 win at home to PSV Eindhoven. And we said they were going to win that game 2-1. So yeah, we're looking pretty solid on Juve here in terms of outcomes and goals markets over the last couple of games. In terms of Cagliari, they went to Parma and beat them 3-2 last week. It's a bit of a surprise. Came off the back of a 1-0 win against Cremonese in the Coppa d'Italia, which we call that win for Cagliari. However, prior to that, 3 defeats in a row for Cagliari, and then they had a draw against Como. So really last week was the first win of the season for Cagliari. But in terms of going to Juventus now and trying to follow that up, that's gonna be really hard.
I think they call it a bridge too far.
A bridge too far.
Cagliari have got probably small hope of coming over something because they have got their win on the board and they are scoring. So actually, that's leading us to our tips. So the Juventus win, which I think is probably a given, 1.38 is all you can get for that. But if you're interested in something a bit spicier, both teams to score you can get at 2.25, which isn't too bad. But yeah, in terms of how we think Juventus will do, they're unbeaten in their last 10 home league matches. So they've been extremely resilient there. And we expect that to continue on. And yeah, we think they'll create a good number of chances and they'll get a healthy win. 3-1 is what we've gone for. 3-1's always a nice one because you can get good odds. And the correct score prediction for that 3-1, you get odds of 13, 12 to 1.
Yeah.
So pretty huge. I always like to have a little bit on that, but not very much. And on our poll, well, you can imagine 67% of people like Juventus to win, but 17% like a Cagliari victory. Maybe they're Cagliari supporters, I'm not really too sure, but and a further 16% like a draw. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, we think it's going to be difficult for Cagliari to go there and come away with 3 points, that's for sure. But both teams to score is what we do like, and yeah, 2.25 odds on that one. Next, we've got Bologna 13th, who take on Parma, who are 15th. Kicks off on Sunday, 6th of October, 2:00 in the afternoon in the UK. Find your local kickoff time, game odds, and available broadcast streaming channels on our page on footballpredictions.net. You'll see it in the description of this podcast. You can watch it, you can live stream it for free on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365. Now, Bologna were in action in the Champions League, weren't they?
Yeah, they were in Champions League action midweek at Liverpool. A very hard game for Bologna. We actually predicted they were going to have a very hard day at Anfield or hard evening. And they did indeed. We said 3-0 Liverpool. It ended 2-0 Liverpool in that game. And that was to follow up on the first game in the Champions League where it ended a 0-0 draw against Shakhtar Donetsk in a game where we said it was going to end under 2.5 goals. Ended under 2.5 goals. But yeah, Bologna still to score goal in the Champions League. In the Serie A, though, it's a little bit of a different story. However, they've not had the best start, despite just one defeat. They've also only won one game, 4 draws in 6, and they're struggling to score goals. So far, 7 goals in 6 games for Bologna. Last time out was a 1-0 draw at home to Atalanta, which is not a bad result. As such, Atalanta is also playing in the Champions League this season. We did have an under 2.5 goal prediction in that game. But yeah, and then we had a score draw in Como. That was prior to the Champions League game against Donetsk. So yeah, overall on Bologna, struggle a bit for goals. They have had some tricky games in the Champions League, but I mean, overall, Bologna here have not lost the last 4 games in the Serie A. And also, it has to be said that the only defeat that Bologna have had this season, it was at Napoli. And we all know how strong Napoli has been so far this season, the top of the Serie A. So that was a tricky test for them. So yeah, overall for Bologna, been a fairly okay start, including the Champions League. But again, struggle for goals. If we look at Parma, Parma equally also really struggled to get going in the Serie A after that home win against AC Milan, which surprised most of us. It's been now 3 defeats from 4 and just 1 draw, which was at Lecce. And that was the last away game that Parma had. It was a 2-2 draw at Lecce. that was sandwiched in between 3-2 home defeats, one to Cagliari and one to Udinese. So yeah, a struggling Parma side traveling to Bologna here.
Yeah, this could be a fascinating game. It's just looking at some of the stats, it's quite interesting reading as well. That Bologna haven't lost in the league to Parma in the last 9 matches, so that's a fairly decent run against them, isn't it? They haven't been beaten in their last 7 home league matches, yet they haven't won at home for the last 6 league matches. So a lot of draws, obviously, in amongst those, and at home. So they're kind of not winning, not losing, but they've not been defeated is the important thing, I think, here in the last 7. And also Parma haven't won away from home in their last 6 league matches. So and they often don't get joy when they play at Bologna. They haven't won there in the last 4. So yeah, some interesting statistics there to sort of mull over. But at the end of the day, we're picking a winner. We think it's going to be Bologna, and we think they're going to get the home win. Odds you can get there 1.8, and yeah, we do think they'll probably concede because they tend to both teams to score odds of 1.75. So you could almost take your pick between those two in terms of what you get back. Slightly better for the Bologna win, and for the correct score, 2-1 is what we're thinking. Probably the most common score there is, and you can get odds of that of 8.5. 57% of you on our poll believe Bologna will win. 21% have gone for Parma, and the rest a draw. So yeah, let's see that one, how it goes. Yeah. Here's another good matchup. Lazio in 7th, who take on Empoli, who are 6th. Kicks off on Sunday, 6th of October, 2 p.m. UK time. Visit footballpredictions.net's page for this game, and you'll be able to find your kickoff time, all the betting odds and broadcast streaming channels tailored to your location, specifically for this match, one of which is Bet365. You can live stream it like all the other Serie A games, outside of Italy, of course. And use our bonus code FP365 if you're going to do that. Yeah, Lazio have had a good win against Torino in their last game.
Yeah, they beat Torino 3-2 in a both teams to score game that we called. We said both teams to score in that game. And yeah, they beat Torino 3-2. And that was Torino's first defeat of the season. So probably kind of telling for what direction Lazio is heading in here, because prior to that, they had a 3-0 away win to Dynamo Kiev in the Europa League, where we said that Lazio were also going to win 2-0. They won 3-0 in that game. We did predict 1-0. Now, in the away game prior to Torino, Lazio traveled to Fiorentina, and we said that Lazio were going to lose that game 2-1. And what happened? Fiorentina beat Lazio 2-1.
Yeah.
So yeah, three away matches on the trot for Lazio. The last home match was against Hellas Verona. We said that Lazio were going to beat Verona 2-0. They beat them 2-1. So yeah, we were as close as we could get to the correct score, but nevertheless we had the outcome correct on that one. So yeah, if we look across the Serie A, it has been a little bit mixed for Lazio. However, at home, they are undefeated so far still this season. The only defeats have come away from home from Lazio. However, Empoli, though, probably one of the surprises of the Serie A this season. They also threw in the Coppa d'Italia because it's another team to beat Torino, and we all know what a start Torino had to the season. So they beat Torino in the Coppa, so they threw in that. They're also undefeated in the Serie A. And they've not had easy opponents. Last time out, we had an under 2.5 goals, no both teams to score against Fiorentina. And I think it's safe to say that no team scored at all. It ended 0-0 in that game. So yeah, that was probably a fairly predictable result in terms of where Empoli is at the moment, not scoring lots of goals and also not conceding goals. They've only conceded 2 goals all season. Wow. Their last away game in the Serie A was a 2-0 win at Cagliari. And then they had a 1-1 draw also away to Bologna. But yeah, I think overall this is where does Empoli sit? Can they keep this up? Because we know how they struggled last season and they didn't improve their squad much over the summer, but they've had a great start. But we think it could come to a quite abrupt end here at Lazio.
Well, Empoli, we think, will put up a fight. They've not been defeated in their last 4 league matches away from home, so they're not a bad side. However, Lazio are looking really good, and they haven't actually lost to Empoli in the league in their last 11 meetings. So it's quite a long unbeaten run against them, which we think will continue here. And also, they've not lost in their last 8 league matches at home. So visiting teams have had a hard time of it there. So that's how we're thinking it's going to go. Lazio to win, and we've gone for 3-1 score prediction. You can get really good odds of that of 13, so 12 to 1 if you did like a correct score. Of course, it's a difficult one to pick. But in terms of the Lazio win, they're odds-on favourites. You can get odds of 1.57, probably the safest bet that you can find, actually. But if you like a little bit more juicy odds, you can go for both teams to score, which is what we're also thinking might happen here. So we've got odds of that currently of 2. In terms of what you think, our users go to our page on footballpredictions.net for this match. 50% of people think Lazio will just get the win. 25% think Empoli can come away with the win, and the rest, another 25%, think a draw. So it's a bit split, but mainly the majority are just looking at Lazio for the win. Next, we've got Monza, 20th. We take on Roma, 9th. Kicks off on Sunday, 6th of October. Excuse me, 5 p.m. UK time. Go to footballpredictions.net's page on their website for your local kickoff time and the betting odds and broadcast streaming options available in your area. You can watch it live streamed on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. We had a good prediction in Monza's last game, didn't we?
We did indeed, because when they went to Napoli, we said that they were going to lose 2-0, and they lost 2-0 in that game. But overall for Monza this season, no wins so far in the Serie A, bottom of the Serie A as well. They have picked up 3 draws and quite a few good draws as well. They picked up a draw against Inter Milan and Fiorentina. They also threw in the Coppa d'Italia, but overall they won't be too happy with this start in the Serie A. Prior to Napoli, the lost at home to Bologna, and we did say that Bologna were going to go away from Monza with a win, and so they did. Roma, on the other hand, they've really bounced back from their fairly disappointing start to the season with that home defeat to Empoli, and then a couple of draws, although one draw was against Juventus. But the last 2 Serie A games have finally yielded a few wins for Roma. A 3-0 win at home to Udinese in a game where we said 3-1. And then most recently, they beat Venezia 2-1 at home. We said 2-0. So we had the last 2 outcomes correct. In between, Roma did have a Europa League game against Athletic Bilbao that ended 1-1. So now no defeats in 5 for Roma going into this game with Monza, a Monza team that is struggling in the Serie A. 2 defeats in a row now for them. And like we said, we called it correctly last week, even with the correct score against Monza. And we've also been very close on the last 2 Serie A games for Roma. So this looks like a game that we have pretty much under control.
Well, I mean, Monza are at the bottom of the table for nothing. Haven't won a game yet. The best they've managed is 3 draws. So, they're not looking too clever at the minute. And Roma, they're doing okay. Not great for their standards, but we think they'll win. And you can get odds on the Roma to win 1.91. But we think it might be a bit of a scramble. It might be quite close, like a lot of Italian games, a little bit of a patient one for Roma to get the goal. But so we're thinking it's going to be a low scorer, under 2.5 goals, so 1 or 2-0 to Roma. So odds of that you can get at 1.73. And 1-0 is what we actually think the score will be. That's what we've gone for. Odds of that you can get of 6.5 currently. It's at Bet365. But it's they're not heavily favoured. A win for Monza you can get at 4.2 and a draw at 3.4 at the moment. So the bookies obviously see Roma as odds-on favourites. In our poll, So do you. 54% of people are saying Roma will win, 23% Monza, and the rest a draw. So let's move on to our final game, which is Fiorentina, 11th position, who take on the mighty AC Milan, who are third at the moment. Kicks off on Sunday, 6th of October, 7:45 in the evening in the UK. And if you go to our web page on footballpredictions.net, check the description for that, and you'll find the clickable link. You can get your own local kickoff time, betting odds, and broadcast streaming options available, one of which is Bet365. And if you're going to watch it on there, use our bonus code FP365.
Yep. Yeah, two teams where we've had some really good calls recently, especially if we look at AC Milan. We've had 5 out of the last 6 outcomes correct. Midweek, we said that AC Milan were going to travel to Leverkusen and lose, and they lost that 1-0. In their most recent Serie A game, we had even it down to the correct score. We said that AC Milan last week were going to beat Lecce 3-0, and they beat them 3-0. In the Milan derby, we said over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. It ended 2-1 to AC Milan. That was a great win for them. And prior to that, in the Serie A as well, we said that Inter Milan was going to beat Venezia 3-0. They beat them 4-0. So right now, AC Milan has got 3 wins in a row in the Serie A, and that's making up for that start they had to the season where they didn't win. They had 2 draws and a defeat from the first 3. So yeah, they definitely made up for that. It has to be said as well that home game in the Champions League against Liverpool, we said that Milan were going to lose. We said 2-1 Liverpool. It ended 3-1, but again, we had the outcome and the over 2.5 and both teams to score correct in that game. So yeah, tips overall on Milan, we have them in a very good place and have had some really solid predictions on them. In terms of Fiorentina last week at Empoli, we knew it was going to be a low-scoring game. We also knew we had both teams to score. It ended 0-0, so we had the goals market correct on that one. In the last home game against Lazio, we said that Fiorentina were going to beat Lazio 2-1. What happened? They beat Lazio 2-1. Prior to that, they had a defeat at Atalanta, which we also called the outcome of. Prior to that, Fiorentina had quite a few draws in a row, including the Conference League qualifiers. But yeah, overall in the Serie A, I think coming off that 2-1 win against Lazio, then going to Empoli and drawing 0-0. It's a hard team to call, Fiorentina. They've only lost 1 game, also only won 1 game. They have 4 draws. This is a game that could go really either way, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to this game, Fiorentina haven't been beaten at home in the last 7 at home, so it's not going to be easy for AC Milan. So, but we do think they will get over the line. And so, given all that, we think because they will make it difficult, it'll be a close scoreline. And we're going for a 1-0 away win. Odds of that you can get at 9.5 at the moment. But yeah, under 2.5 goals is what we like. This is slightly better odds. 2.1 you can get for under 2.5 goals in this game. If you just like a straight out win-draw-win, AC Milan to win, you can get at 2.2. So yeah, bookies are saying this could go either way as well. But yeah, we just think that the quality of AC Milan will just shine through. If you do Fiorentina to win, you get 3.1. So not bad. A draw, which is another good possibility, actually, 3.6. But yeah, we like the under 2.5 goals at odds of 2.1 for this particular game. It's worth mentioning, if you are planning to live stream these matches on Bet365, geolocation and live streaming rules apply. 18 plus, gamble aware, and use our bonus code FP365 if you're a new customer.
Yes, and in the description area of this podcast, you'll find links to the fixtures we've just been discussing, or you just simply go to footballpredictions.net. Once you're there, you can browse the online sources to watch the games from your location via streaming and TV channels, add tips for different betting markets, team news, plus the latest offers and odds.
And if you like this, we produce these football podcasts across several competitions as well as Serie, and you can hear them all at podcast.footballpredictions.net or from where you download your podcast. Well, that's it. Thanks for listening, and until the next time, it is
ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Football predictions.